Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. This is a show where I look at every classic Doctor Who story plus a bunch of big Finish audio dramas, one episode a day, 7 days a week. And today, on the 30th of August 2019, we're starting to look at the second half of the first two parts of the first two release story of the fifth series of Fourth Doctor Adventures and the fourth release overall in that series, Legacy of Death, starting with part 1. Which is technically part 3 of the overall story. And the reason I bring that up is because for a part 3, or for like a penultimate episode, it actually gets a lot done. Mainly because Jonathan Morris uses his time wisely in writing this story, so that he's sort of building up to a chaotic finish. Like, you have a real sense of the chaos, and almost just like sort of a sense of the, I guess, darkness that's going on with this story. Mainly in the fact that this is a story, that this is a story where, well, time starts to be changed. All it takes is one person from the the Doctor ends up helping people in the past to get time travel because, well, it seems that once he does it and is able to do it, he could, actually get a decent sort of, he might be able to fix everything. He's trying to make sure their history plays out. It plays out into a, into an actual story type thing. That there's a real, that the conclusion will actually go to a solid conclusion, whereas, this one, it really, where this actually sort of, well, he then accidentally gets the guy killed, which is all starting to happen, and you get this real sense that that either the paradox is going to completely crash in on itself, causing real problems, or nothing's going to change, also being a problem. It looks very much like there can't be a solution to the story, which is something that's actually quite important, is that the sort of the lack of the solution here, not really giving us a, not giving a good idea of where the story not only could be going, but could be, quote unquote, concluding. Because we are concluding we're concluding with a story that is very much a, it's very much built upon the idea of characters. You have the characters not really going to a, to a good place. It's very much, we're getting to a dark conclusion. The legacy of death is that people are dying all around, and death is something that is just sort of ever present here. That, that there is really a good chance that that everything is going to end up dead by the end. And overall it's a this is a really good episode, but not just for those reasons, because there's also a good root of the Doctor there is a good a good sense that you could really really get a a real um, you know a real solution here, but you also have what is uh, a really uh, you know a really good um, a really good uh, you know it's a really solid sort of um, you know a really just a really good um, a really good story here. Um, while the Doctor sort of, you get like some really good insight into how the Doctor's name has sort of been dragged along. Like you have Jonathan Morris creating this almost cult around the Doctor, and the big reveal is that K9 has been sort of facilitating it to make sure things go according to plan. Um, you know, it's uh, it's one of those particularly good it's a particularly good story. Um, but so so you really do get a a good story here. So you really get all the just sort of the real legacy of death in the story. So overall, I'm going to give Legacy of Death Part 1 a 9 out of 10. It is the 1st of September 2019, and I just finished listening to Part 2 of Legacy of Death. Now, Part 2 of Legacy of Death is great. It is just as it's just as great as the first part. It concludes the story in a very good time, sort of, and sort of really playing off across the idea that that you can't rewrite history at all. Like has been a big theme of that was a big theme of the last 3 episodes. And the story ends with everything, of course, being righted. But in all the wrongs being righted, history is still, it's still history. It's still, it's still something that you get, one, you get a decent sense on. It's also one where you get the sense that in changing history, in changing history, there is a real you get a real sense that there could have been a a complete switch up in the story. Everything could have fallen apart pretty easily, but you have the Doctor there really to fix everything and make sure everything goes according to plan, and that the all the wrongs are essentially righted. And it's something that's done really, really well. Jonathan Morris's script is excellent at really providing the story with something to give a good, solid build up and conclusion of, hey, here we have um, all of these um, all of these story, all of this story, and a lot of it is just ending the war. Um, you know, it's one of those, uh, one of those story, it's one of those stories where you get, um, you get the sense, um, you know, they get the sense that it's a story where you have you have one of those really really good really good stories, um, you know uh, it's it's a very very good ending, and I really do um, um, uh, and then one of those really really good, it's a really good story. You really you sort of there's a lot of commentary on climate change, and basically the idea is that this war seems to be a stand-in for climate change, and the actual solution is uh, try to fix it as best as we can, um, even though it's not necessarily possible. Like at the end, all the survivors end up going further into the future to let the Earth reset itself, um, almost even creating an idea that um, you know one of those one of the stories where you get the war and you get an interesting thing. It's almost Morris admitting that he doesn't necessarily know the answers, that you obviously have to continue um, continue going, um, you know you uh, continue going on just on with the plot, and you have the story. It's really good, and it's really really one of those stories that you almost have to see for yourself, to understand why everything is going well. Um, you have the stories. You have K9 basically having to go the long way around to become God, and K9 gives a lot, a lot of really 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 good, um, you know uh, you really get the sense that everything ended here, and it's really really good. This is really a really good episode overall. And it just sort of shows actually kind of what the Fourth Doctor Adventures can do. It creates, that good atmosphere, and a good atmosphere with, a bunch of different characters, and overall, you wanted, you wanted to do with, with the story. So overall, I'm going to give Legacy of Death Part 2 a 9 out of 10. That being said, we add up and average the scores to give Legacy of Death a final score of 9 out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching this installment of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. As always, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And join us next time when we take a look at the 5th story in the 5th series of Fourth Doctor Adventures, Gallery of Ghouls.